second New Lynn Coalition People's Assembly Municipal Election. My name is Tish Mukala. I'm a nurse practitioner here in Lynn. I am also a president of the New Lynn Coalition, and I'm a president of Highland Coalition. So 10 years ago, school committee woman Maria Carrasco, Ward 6 Councilor Pete Capano, and the North Shore Labor Council Director Jeff Crosby had an idea. They had an idea to have an organization to unify the working people of Lynn. The local 201 represent GE worker and other and is located at 112 Exchange Street. So at that time, it was only the big, the 201 was only the big organization for many years in the Exchange Street building. People outside of this didn't know about the GU union. Union member of GE and Lynn Community Health Center and other workplace did not have any relationship with community people, including the new immigrant to Lynn who were working to improve our city. So these three leaders at that time thought, wouldn't it be powerful to have union member and non-union member working together for one Lynn? So with that idea in mind, the New Lynn Coalition was created in 2011. Soon after, the 112 Exchange Street building started to have more people and organizations coming in and meeting there. And that will include, at that time, Neighbor to Neighbor, Lynn Worker Center, and Lynn United for Change, just to name those few. We began to work together to learn from one another and to support one another, and sometimes we compromise when necessary. A force that will be independent of the other political force fighting for the better of Lynn for our own working class majority. The idea of working together came to fruition with the May 1st March every year, the celebration of diversity event in the city of Lynn, and the support of the Gateway Building on Low Washington Street, where we partner up with the Lynn Housing Authority. So the investor in that building was able to build a low-income housing for family, as well as the market rate housing value at the same time. Today, we have grown and seen so many change and some success as well, as Jeff will mention in a moment. But the struggle for one Lynn for all continues. There is a lot more work to do. to make sure Lynn is a place that works for everyone. So tonight, we will ask the candidates for Lynn Councilor at Large and the candidate for the mayor to address some of a few key items facing our people today. So with that, I would like to thank every one of you for being here in person and also on the Facebook Live. Thank you very much.
So thank you again. I want just to say a few things about New Lynn, to welcome you here, what we do, and the kind of efforts that we're making in our city to try to make it better. So in 10 years, we've grown to about 15 organizations, and I actually can't see them all to read them from here. But if you take a look, you'll see what we have. It's both unions and community organizations. We started with maybe 6 or 7. We also have a couple of supporting organizations. So, just checking my mic.
It's coming out the speaker.
We believe our work comes from the past, out of the past and culture of Lynn, and it's something we're very proud of. So you see on the left, Frederick Douglass, of course, one of our greatest heroes and abolitionists, and on the right, the women who led the famous 1860 shoe strike. We focused on housing since our inception. This is a tool we developed with UMass Lowell to explain the crisis here in Lynn on housing, and also to explain to our citizens some of the tools and explanations of how decisions are made so that they can get more involved. This is a successful gateway project on Washington Street that we got the ball rolling for and worked with the AFL-CIO and the Lynn Housing Authority, 71 units, and the majority of them, all but 8, are subsidized in some way, including Section 8, so that they're affordable at least in some degree. We participated in the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition with many of our partners after the Black Lives Matter protests and incidents in Lynn last year. We've helped bring body cameras to Lynn officers and are currently working to create an unarmed crisis response team to reduce conflicts between police and especially Lynn's communities of color. We created the Lynn Community Enrichment Program, which we call the Night School, and we teach there. In the evening, we finally are able to open up Lynn Tech to the community, and the classes range from carpentry to yoga. These photos are from the cake decorating and the ESL classes. We've organized a food aid program now for over a year, delivering food every Thursday to up to 600 families a month, working with My Brother's Table. The need continues, and we're currently experimenting with going to 2 days a week to reach more families. Each year, for the last 10 years, we brought our programs and members together on May Day, traditionally the year that working class people rally for workers' rights and immigrant rights. It's a tradition that started here in the United States in Chicago in 1886, and we focus on local issues and campaigns. New Lynn does not endorse candidates, and sometimes our affiliates who do endorse, sometimes they actually endorse different candidates that are competing with each other. But we do voter education, and tonight's People's Election Assembly is our second. This is the first one, this picture from 2019, where before COVID, we were able to bring 200 people together towards the end of the municipal campaign. And I had to mention this, we go to a lot of meetings. Our board meets every month, 2 representatives from each of our participating organizations. And the officers also meet monthly, and folks chip in addition to the work they do for their own organizations where they're already busy. Our staff is very part-time except for our food aid coordinator. None of them get benefits, and they're quite frankly overworked and underpaid, and that's something we need to try to fix. We're making a difference through careful discussion and hard work, and we hope you'll join in and contribute financially and your time and opinions on how to make a better life in Lynn for all of our peoples, or how to build a new Lynn. I do want to just mention our staff and officers and thank them. Our president, as you heard, Tish McCullough from the Highlands Coalition. Vice President Jackie Fitzhugh, who can't be here tonight. She's involved with a program at her church. Treasurer Paul Coombs from Neighbor to Neighbor. Kendia Martinez and Maria Carrasco. Kendia from Lynn Latino Leadership Coalition. The two of them are now at-large officers. Bob Reynolds from ECHO, the faith-based group, is our secretary. Our hardworking staff is Michelle Guzman, our bilingual organizer. John Feinberg, our Organizing and Economic Development Director, Rosimara Sneed, who is an intern from Salem State Social Work Program, and Neil Whitridge, who runs our Food Aid Program. So I want to thank all of them very much for their hard work. We wouldn't be here without them. So now I'm going to hand over the mic to our two assembly facilitators, Yusuf Hayes, who is a professor of public speaking at North Shore Community College and also teaches at our night school, public speaking, and Maria Carrasco, who is known to everyone in Lynn already. She's been our president for the first 10 years and is a 5-time elected member of the school committee in Lynn until she decided not to run again. So thank you both, and I'll turn the program over to you.
A big hand for yourselves for coming out tonight. Thank you. There's a lot of places you could be, so we appreciate that you're here. And please, if you could give a big hand for all of the candidates who are presenting themselves here. And just to emphasize that while you may have your favorites and your unfavorites, please, a high level of respect for all of them for being here in your questions and your comments and your communication with them. We do have a timer, and I believe Tish is doing Elizabeth is doing the timer. And so each question that we ask, you're going to have a 2-minute limit, and that timer will just go off automatically. So I'm sure you'll be done before then, but in case you're not, she is the timer there. We will be asking questions in English and Spanish, and also there is translation available through Facebook Live. Michelle is doing the translation, and you can get the translation there. I don't think anybody's outside. Is that right? There's room for everybody to be inside. Maria, did you want?
Buenas noches a todos, gracias por estar aquí. Una cosa que le pedimos es mucho respeto a la respuesta que nos den nuestros candidatos, aunque no estemos de acuerdo muchas veces, pero hay que respetar su valentía de estar aquí con nosotros y de enfrentarse a postularse para una posición. Otra cosa que le queremos decir que los baños están, si suben esa escalera que está aquí, pues están a mano izquierda. Tenemos que decir, las preguntas también en la pantalla están tanto en inglés como en español. Y la respuesta, pues tenemos traductores aquí para que puedan, que es Michelle, que ella va a traducir las preguntas de inglés a español. Mi trabajo aquí va a ser que le vamos a hacer las preguntas a los candidatos. Yusel la va a hacer en inglés y yo la voy a hacer en español. Es más que nada eso. Y pedirles que por favor respeten nuestro tiempo. Gracias por estar aquí.
Great, this first question shouldn't take 2 minutes, and we'll try to mix it up, but if we could start with Mr. Hongnet and then go down the line. So the first question is really just a statement. If you could say, my name is, your name, and I am running for Councilor at Large because. So state your name and tell us why you're running for Councilor at Large.
La primera pregunta no es realidad una pregunta, sino es decirle a ellos, y vamos a empezar por Joné, ¿por qué está corriendo para concejal? Y que se presente.
First, I would like to thank the New Lynn Coalition for hosting this quorum. I'm honored to be here tonight. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hong Net. I am running for re-election for City Councilor at Large because I want to continue to work alongside you all to help make Lynn a safe and prosperous city for all of us. And thank you so much.
Good evening.
I want to first of all thank the New Lynn Coalition for having us here tonight, and thank to all of you for being here. The reason I'm running is because I'm committed to our city, to its resident, and to make local government work better for everyone. I think that the city of Lynn has more than 60 languages, and we need to have more diversity in the local government. So I'm humbly, respectfully asking for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. I can use this one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to New Lynn Coalition for sponsoring this forum. My name is Brian Lapierre. I'm currently a Councilor at Large. I'm running to be the person that helps all residents, from lifelong Lynners to those that just moved here recently. I want to see folks advance in this city, whether they're going to school here, raising their family here, or opening up a small business. I like to be responsive to and serve as a high level of constituent services. I was elected in 2015, and I'm currently seeking my 4th term. Thank you for having me.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, New Lynn Coalition, for having this event. My name is Nicole Mclean. I'm running for Councilor at Large because I bring a different perspective to our city government. I am a woman. I'm a Black person. I'm a veteran. I was an entrepreneur in this city. I bring a lot of different perspectives to our local government, and that's why I decided to run for Councilor at Large.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marvin Ipolit. I'm running for Councilor at Large because I'm terrified about the direction of the city. The rents are sky high, the property taxes are high, and it feels like the majority of us, the 80% of the city that doesn't vote in local elections, are in danger of being pushed out of this city. And I want to fight to make sure that all of us have the ability to continue living in Lynn.
First, I'd like to thank New Lynn Coalition and the other organizations that have all organized our event this evening. I'm happy to see everyone here today in person. My name's Brian Field. I am running for Councilor at Large. This will be my third campaign for Councilor at Large. I'm running because I'd like to make a difference in the city while I can. 3.5 years ago when I first ran, it wasn't roses when we first entered into the council. When I first entered into the council, it was a $14 million deficit that the city was facing. And we recovered from that well during that time. It was tough votes that we had to take, but responsible votes to help move our city forward together. Over the next decade, we'll have to make some more important decisions similar to those, and I hope to be re-elected to continue serving the people of Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, the first formal question is about housing, something that I know is on everyone's mind, the participants as well as the candidates. A reminder, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this question, and please try to be as specific as possible. So the question reads, the Lynn Housing Plan has passed. It has not created affordable housing, it's a plan only. Specifically, what are some initiatives that you will introduce in the next year, if elected, to address the housing crisis in Lynn? So I'll just repeat the end of it again. What are some initiatives you will introduce in the next year to address the housing crisis in Lynn?
Yo también voy a hacer la pregunta en español, por favor. Se aprobó el plan de vivienda de Lynn. En la ciudad no se ha creado ninguna vivienda asequible. Es solo un plan. Específicamente, queremos una respuesta específica. ¿Cuáles son las iniciativas que presentará usted el próximo año para comenzar a abordar la crisis de vivienda en la ciudad? Gracias. Y vamos a empezar con Brian Field, por favor.
And so we'll start with Mr. Brian Field, but one thing, please make sure you're close enough to the mic for the live stream. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I was one of the 8 councilors that voted in favor of the housing production plan. EMAPC had a very inclusive process. I participated, listened to many of the the events that they had during the 2-year the plan. So I was familiar with it. Some of the initiatives going forward from that plan that we can take together as decisions that we can make as a council are certainly towards affordable housing. You know, it shouldn't be a surprise that it's people from outside the city being forced into Lynn, and the effect of the cost of living in the city is rising because of that circumstance. One of the first things that I did when first elected, I sat down with the executive director for the Lynn Housing Authority, Mr. Gaeta, and asked him how many vouchers were from Boston within the city, because the vouchers from Boston were paying more from Lynn. And he didn't have an answer to that, so that was concerning. It wasn't until this year that we found out that over 300 vouchers from Boston are living here in the city, and they're asking to put more into the city. So that affects the overall median income, the median rental price for others that are here already. I've been working with the Housing Authority. I've looked through and did pass the housing production plan. There are a lot of great ideas that we can continue to work on together as a council, work collaboratively with the mayor, with our state government, and work with organizations like yourselves to move those more important ones that are, you know, near in front, right ahead. Those are things that I support, and I look forward to working with my colleagues on the council if elected. Thank you.
So as councilor, a few of the things that I would do is, number one, push for inclusionary zoning. We need to make sure that any new developments have some portion of them that are affordable for the people who live in Lynn. I'd also work to amend the approval process and the special permitting process. It's not transparent. We need to make sure that there's enough room and time for people, the public, to add input and actually negotiate with developers and businesses coming into the city. I'd also really be interested in land acquisition. You know, I look at it, we're right across from 501 Washington Street. Like, they're managed by JH1 Properties. My time in the congressman's office, we get tons of complaints from people about JH1 Properties. Why are we working as a city to enrich out-of-town developers and out-of-town management companies? We need to make sure that whatever we're building, whatever we're doing is benefiting the people here. And then lastly, also rezone to include mixed-use development. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. First, I want to say that I'm not against development, but I believe in tandem we can be building affordable housing as well. I don't think there has to be exclusively one thing being built, and right now, all we're building is market rate housing. So I would definitely advocate for the development of affordable housing. Also, I would, like Marvin had just said, negotiate more with our developers so that they're giving back to our city. What we're doing now with the tax breaks and just allowing these developers to come in and make money off the city is not okay, and we need to be making sure that our residents that currently live here are being considered. I know that, you know, we need the money from these other people that are coming in the city and all these reasons why, you know, this is important or whatever, but there's people that are currently living in this city that are being pushed out that need housing. So I believe that in tandem we should be advocating for deed restricted housing to be developed as well. So that's basically my plan, is to just advocate for more deed restricted housing, advocate for better negotiation with developers.
Thank you. One thing to keep in mind is there is a distinction between private investment and public needs or wants. And a lot of what you're seeing across the city is privately invested. The project behind us, the one on Baldwin Street, it's not until the council acts when they're in need of something that could be a relief. For example, on Friend Street, we just adopted last month a series of units, and they needed a variance on the frontage. And what we got in return was affordability. So we got 10% affordable housing, which we didn't have prior to that, and they had a right to build 100% without affordable market rate. But when you come to the council seeking alternatives or relaxation or TIFs or ties, that's when we get community benefits. And we've done that every single time, whether it's the Beacon property, which is the Frederick Douglass Parkway, so the park right next to us. So since I've been on the council, we have made strides. There's almost 6,000 people waiting on a waiting list right now across the city. Private senior management buildings are loaded to the gills with waiting lists that I speak of. We need to do a better job, and we've done that in the past 2 years with the Marshall Middle School site now, senior housing, fixed income housing, the Union Hospital development, the Armory down on the South Commons, which will be veterans housing and affordable. So we're chipping away at it, and I'd like to see more. I don't mind this notion of supporting inclusionary zoning. I just would like to see it done in a staggered, very sort of data-driven way, whether it's 5% the first year, 10% the second, 15% in year 3, if it's going well and responsible development is taking place, and we hold the developers accountable and get community development, community benefits from that development that they seek. But remember, private investment, they have a right to do, and then when it's investment that they come to us, then we have to negotiate benefits. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Affordable housing is a problem that is touching every single one of us in the city of Lynn. Even though it's a national problem, but it's affecting a lot of us, a lot of family here in the city of Lynn. As when I get elected as a council, one of the proposals that I have is that we need to include the inclusionary zoning, which give at least 15 to 20% of units for low income families. So we need to address the housing issues. Another thing that we need to address is that we need to find a way to create some type of programs for low income family, for hard working family to acquire their fair home. I do not own a house by myself, and I know the struggle of everyone, and we need to find programs to help a hard worker family to acquire their fair home. And for those paying those high rent, we're working hard, and even 2 or 3 on the family working, and we don't have enough to pay for all the bills. And so everything goes onto the rent and pay the mortgage. So we need to address those issues as soon as and I'm willing to work with other elected officials to work together and find solution to that issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. Having a stable housing place to stay, keep family and community together. I think that's very important. The question is so important. And it's so hard, and it's hard feeling for us to see people move our city because of the highest price housing and rental. And that's why I'm so proud to have passing the housing plan at the council. So this is a great first step for us to help the city negotiate with developer to build affordable housing anywhere in the city. I also see that this is a need not just for newcomers, also seniors, the veterans, and young people who move to the city, and they need a place to stay. And I have been working with the city for the past 9 months to find some funding to help our senior and veteran who live on the poverty or below poverty lines to reduce their rentals for housing that are controlled by our city. And I'm very proud to do that. I will continue to do what I can to help out. And affordable housing is important for all of us. Thank you.
Net, el Consejo Municipal aprobó $500,000 para un equipo de respuesta a crisis sin usar armas de fuego, para relevar a la policía de tareas que no requieran la respuesta de un oficial armado. Esto proporcionaría una alternativa a las llamadas no violentas y brindaría servicios a las personas que padecen enfermedades mentales, adicciones, inseguridad en la vivienda y a quienes necesitan ayuda pero tienen demasiado miedo de tener un conflicto con la policía y no quieren pedir ayuda por eso. La coalición de Lynn Racial Justice o Justicia apoya el modelo utilizado en Eugene, Oregón, donde este tipo de llamadas son respondidas por personas profesionales de la salud y la policía es llamada solo como respaldo. En Oregón, en el 1% de las llamadas, en todas las llamadas que ha habido en 31 años, solamente ha habido necesidad de 1% de llamar a la policía y 0 lesiones a esas personas profesionales que han estado presentes. La pregunta es, ¿apoya el modelo de Oregón de un equipo verdaderamente independiente desarmado? Gracias.
It's quite a big question, but I think the end is very important. So the City Council approved this $500,000 for the Unarmed Crisis Response Team to relieve the police of tasks that did not require an armed officer's response. Nonviolent calls, mental illness, addiction, housing insecurity, etc. The Lynn Racial Justice Coalition supports the model used in Eugene, Oregon, where these types of calls are answered by healthcare professionals and police are called only as a backup, which in Oregon was about 1% of the time. In their 31 years of operation, they have had 0 injuries experienced by team members. The question, do you support the Oregon model of a truly independent, unarmed UCRT? So the UCRT not as part of the police force, but a truly independent agency dealing with these issues. And like Maria said, we'll start with Mr. Hongnet.
Yes, I support the unarmed crisis. Yeah, we are fortunate to be able to provide $500,000 to start off with. I had multiple meetings with some folks who organize this, and my opinion, I think the police and the fire department in our city are doing a fine job, and they probably one of the best police force and the firefighters in the North Shore. And just look at that, the police take so many calls, like between 80 to 90,000 calls a year. That's a lot for them. And like the firefighters also, they take between 16 to 7,000 calls a year. That's a lot for them. So to have additional help, that's a big help for them, and will release the burden a lot. And we don't have a lot of police in our city. We have less than 200, and our firefighters about 200. So there's a lot for them, and I commend their job, and also for having an armed crisis. It's a huge help, and I wholly support, and I will do whatever I can to help them, as long as it does not interfere with our police force and firefighter. Because public safety is important. We all work together to make sure our city is safe, and so everyone can feel safe, so we can attract more visitors, more business to our city. Thank you.
Yeah, the Oregon model, I do agree with it. The crisis response team, I think it will work very good with our city. The public safety is vital for our residents to live in peace. And one thing is that we need prevention. And I think that will help a lot to prevent a lot of crimes. We have a big issue with the mental health, and also many of our residents. And I think we need more help around the mental health coordination. And I believe working closely with the community, with the constituents, will work better and will be much better for our safety in the city of Lynn. So I do approve it.
Thank you. So I think I would take a measured approach, and there's several factors why. I have not done extensive research on the Eugene, Oregon model. I hear from all accounts that it's a blue ribbon example of how to implement a program such as this. The reason why I'm saying a measured approach, number one, we appropriated $500,000 to this back during the budget. I don't know what's happened in terms of communication with the current mayor to get us this far as to where that stands right now in conversations. So I'd like to check in on that. I'd also like to, in fairness, work with the new mayor that's going to be taking office in January and make sure that that mayor's vision aligns with this anti-crisis response team. I also want to look at certifications, and I equate this to what our schoolwork looks like in terms of wraparound services, and evaluating the needs of students, in particular mental health needs, psychological needs, socioeconomic needs, so many needs, dental care. You can just imagine that all of the supports that are needed to have this takes a village mentality in our schools has to be reimagined in our police work in 2021. The police do an excellent job here in Lynn, but they can use the help. They can also, if we reimagine with the appropriate folks that are going to be a part of this, and I'd like to be a part of those discussions as to the screening and to the, as I said, the vision of the mayor and what the council is looking at. But I love the first step of funding this and then checking in on the ground as to see where we're at with it and try and adopt that Eugene, Oregon model if that's what we think is a good fit for our city. Thank you.
I do support an unarmed crisis response team that is independent of the police, that works on its own. But I do believe that they're going to need support. So if ever they do decide that they need to call out to the police, they should be able to do that. But I do believe it should be their decision. This unarmed crisis response team should be looked at as something that relieves the stress and pressure from our police department. It shouldn't be looked at as something that's going to interfere with police work. A lot of the people in our city are suffering from mental illness. They're suffering from, trying to be safe on the streets on their own. When there's a call that comes out that isn't violent, there's really no need to send a police officer that has a weapon to that call. And I really believe that the unarmed crisis response team is an answer, is one of the solutions, and should be looked at as, just like the EMTs, just like the firefighters are looked at as a part of our community, that are community helpers, that are helping us to be a better better resource in our community. I am a part of the Racial Justice Coalition, so I'm all for it. Thank you.
Hello? All right, yeah. I'm definitely in support of the unarmed crisis response team. Definitely want to give a shout out to Nicole, Adriana, and everybody who worked on the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition to actually make this happen. I walk down Union Street a lot, and actually earlier this year, I actually watched as a man was ODing right there. And just random strangers went to him and actually helped him, got him Narcan and everything. And I spoke with one of the women there, and she was explaining how if in that situation the police had come to that situation to come see what was going on, that they wouldn't have felt comfortable, and that sometimes in the past when she's witnessed situations like that, it didn't help at all. So obviously, that I think that's just like one example, but there definitely is a real world impact. It should be independent for police, but like Nicole was saying, they should have the opportunity to call the police for backup should they need. But I'm definitely in support of the Eugene model.
I think over the past few years, we've seen how important the behavioral health unit that is part of the Lynn Police Department right now, what much of a role they've played in responding to certain circumstances. We know that mental health and drug dependency plays a key factor in a high percentage of the reported crimes that are taking place. And it's not really a crime. And I think that's where we have to kind of differentiate the two. It's not a crime to have mental health issues. It's not a crime to be drug dependent. So it was certainly easy to support the mayor's $500,000 for the crisis response team in this past 2022 budget. And that's a start. We have a number of organizations, nonprofits throughout the city that deal specifically with mental health issues, and a lot of it can be prevention, and a lot of it's aftercare. People that are just having an episode or whatever their challenge can be, and how others are seeing that and responding to that. Like I think everybody here agrees, it doesn't need to be done in an aggressive manner. It doesn't require police that are untrained for those specific type of actions. There are professionals. We can certainly look at the Eugene, Oregon model as a model for ourselves, and there are other communities around the country that are putting these practices into place. We're one of them. We've taken a step in the right direction this past year, and I look forward to moving ahead with the response that we've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and I'm sorry I'm not supposed to have follow-ups, but I'm just going to steal a minute here. I'm just going to repeat the last part of that question. If you could please answer with a direct yes or no. Do you support an unarmed crisis response team that's completely independent from the police department? And we'll just yes or no, please.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
La pregunta fue siguiendo que queríamos que nos diera una respuesta afirmativa o negativa si apoyaban el modelo que hay en Oregón. Vamos a seguir haciendo las preguntas y esta va a ser la última pregunta para ustedes. La última pregunta es la siguiente. Los funcionarios de la ciudad y los líderes comunitarios se han quejado públicamente por la falta de comunicación y transparencia en el ayuntamiento. El nuevo departamento de planificación ha dejado afuera las discusiones de la solicitud de propuesta que la ciudad puso a disposición de los contratistas. Y las reuniones semanales entre el presidente del consejo y el alcalde se han interrumpido. Esto ha erosionado la confianza en el ayuntamiento. ¿Qué hará usted como concejal en general para mejorar la eficiencia de transparencia en el ayuntamiento?
City officials and community leaders have publicly complained about the lack of communication and transparency in City Hall. The new planning department has been left out of discussions on RFPs or development plans, and the weekly meetings between the council president and the mayor have broken down. This has eroded trust in City Hall. With what you bring to the table, what will you do as a councilor at large to improve efficiency and transparency in City Hall? Sure.
We're going to start with Marvin, please. Yes.
Oh boy. Hello, can y'all hear me? All right. Yeah, so for me, I've been harping on this a lot. We're a city of 100,000 plus people. None of our councilors have staff. For me, that's just, we need to start acting like a city our size. And I'm talking to any candidate running. I really hope, whether I win or lose, that we actually take this up, because we have 65 different languages spoken in this city. 80% of the people in this city don't vote in local elections. So who's minding the store? There's literally no transparency because nobody's making the effort to communicate. So for me, one of the things that I would do is get staff for each councilor. Maybe you could get some of the high school kids, you could get some of the retirees. They could speak different languages, do outreach all year round, tell people what's going on in their city, and then host rotating monthly meetings in each part of the city. We should have office hours. There are towns, literally, with 12,000 people. Each ward has between 12 and 13,000 people, and one person is gonna answer all those calls? I mean, that's just absolutely nuts. So we really need to take that seriously. We need staff for counselors, we need monthly rotating meetings, and we need to take advantage of technology. We need to add people to text messaging lists and emails so that we're actually hearing from them, and that it's more collaborative, and that whatever decision is being made is being made with everybody in mind.
While I do agree with Marvin, I also would like to make our website a viable resource. There's money from the state that we can use to, revamp our website and make it an actual resource where people could go to and actually find information on decisions being made. They can find resources that are being provided by the city. Our website is not user friendly, and if we can just get that working properly, I also feel like technology is being underutilized in our city. Why don't we have an email list that everybody can get emailed? Why aren't we, making sure that we're reaching out to constituents, just like with those big billboards that I'm seeing right now that are asking for snow fighters to come out? Why don't those billboards say vote November 2nd? A lot of people don't even know that this is an election year because we're not communicating with our residents. So I really feel like there's a lot of things that can take place. There can be a newsletter. We can revamp our website, and we can just really be reaching out anyway, thinking outside of the box in any way that we can to make sure we're communicating with our residents and our constituents.
Thank you. Of course, we want improved efficiencies, communication, transparency. I think we've done that. I've done that certainly this past term, and since I've been on the council, I'm not afraid to raise my voice. I think publicly, I was very stern with the legal department and the planning that they needed to come and get on the same page when it came to the RFP for the Marshall Middle School. So absolutely, communication is very paramount to how we do business in the city. As you know, councilors, it's full-time work, but it's part-time. In a sense, we're always there 24/7. A lot of us are on social media doing just that. I've attended numerous neighborhood meetings in various wards by ward councilors that host meetings regularly in wards 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, and 7, and ward 1 occasionally as well. So I try to get to the ward councilors that are hosting it and offer my perspective as a councilor at large or help residents at those meetings. I would also say that we do have staff, frankly. We might not have staff individually as councilors, but we do have an executive assistant who helps all 11 councilors, and then we have a bilingual clerical assistant as well in our council office. We could do better. It could always be for 11 folks, only 2 folks, but we try and keep that budget, that department, as thin as we can in terms of resources, and they do a great job for us, both Terry and Lisa. So we do have staff. We do get out there in the community. I do speak up when I think that department heads are not working well together, and I'll continue to fight on your behalf and make sure tax dollars are spent in the wisest ways. Thank you.
Transparency is one of the topics in my platform, and we need that. While knocking on doors around the city, I found so many constituents that said, I don't know what's going on in the city. We need to be more informed. So as an elected official, I will work hard on transparency. And one of the things is, like some say, that we need to upgrade the web page of the city to have it more accessible to the citizens and put it in different languages. Also, we need to have meetings. I agree with Marvin. We need to have meetings throughout the city in every ward. Every month, every 2 months, we need to sit down. We need to address that issue. We need to because we work for the citizen. We work for them, and they deserve to be well informed. Every citizen should know that there is election on November 2nd, and so many don't. So we need to sit down and work together. Thank you.
we recognize that we can't reach out to every citizen throughout the city. So that's why we just hire a wonderful director of diversity and diversity and equity and inclusion to help us reach out to our citizens. So right now, Festina has been working with the city council, with the mayor, with all the department head, with the other communities to make sure we have accurate data and what we should do to reach out to all citizens, and also have different languages, because we have at least 60 languages spoken in this city, and she has been working on that, and we will do whatever we can to assist her to get that. And she went to visit many places, and she's on it, and she's doing a wonderful job, and we behind this, and we have been doing pretty good job in communicating with our citizens as well, so through social media, and we call them, they call us, and Terry and Lisa are doing a wonderful job assisting us, and so they always reach out to us, they always email us. So if any call we receive from our constituents, or any email or anything that need help, so they always update us, and we always respond. But it's still not enough. I agree with all these gentlemen and lady on this table. So we need to do more, and so that's why we working hard with the city hall and with our diversity director and the mayor, the new mayor. So we're gonna continue update our website and different languages, and go visit different center and organization. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I think transparency is important. It's certainly something that I've been, doing since being elected 3.5 years ago. When it comes to budgeting all these different ideas that we want to do, it certainly comes from the mayor's office, working along with the department heads, CFO, to see what we can do. And over these past couple of years, we've increased, different things that are important to the community. We've talked about the DEI officer, Fosrina Cuevas, and there's a lot of it that we have to put trust in her and what her suggestions are. She's the skilled person at that level to offer a suggestion to us and to the mayor's office, and we need to figure better solutions and what's going to work for everyone. The mayor's office guides those decisions as far as where the money's going to get spent. We certainly have an opportunity to question before the budget's voted on by the council during our budgetary process, and where Councilor Lapierre chairs, and I sit on that budget committee. But as far as transparency, we meet with the planning department. You discussed the planning department. I meet with the planning department, every couple of weeks or so, to see what different projects are in the pipeline, or what are being proposed, or where we're at, and what programs that they have to include other people in the community. They have different opportunities for residents to respond, and there's certainly room for improvement as far as how we get those opportunities out to the general public. But they're working on that, and we created that planning department just within the past year as a separate entity from the mayor's office. And we've hired an arts and cultural director from Minnesota just over this past year. So these are all steps that we have taken as a council collectively over the past year, working well with the mayor's office. So to kind of suggest that we're not working well, we voted unanimously on the budget to pass those important decisions being made. Thank you.
Su palabra, su asistencia, pero que como todavía tenemos tiempo, queremos darle 30 segundos para que nos digan por qué ustedes creen que el 2 de noviembre la gente tienen que votar por ustedes. 30 segundos solamente, por favor. No se extiendan porque esto es ya extra. Gracias.
Yes, please. 30 seconds to tell us why we should all vote for you on Election Day. Mr. Encarnacion, if you could start for us, please.
Thank you for this great opportunity again. I am so excited that I'm running for the second time. I'm going to be working for you. I want to be your voice. I want to be a bridge between the local government and you, the voters. Please, respectfully, I ask that you give me one of your 4 votes on November 2nd. Thank you.
I volunteered. Thank you. So I think I'm qualified to for the job. I respectfully ask for your support again, and just give me one of your 4 votes in November 2nd, and so I will continue to do the best in my ability, and I think I have done a pretty good job to represent everyone in the city, not just certain group, and I speak different languages, which is a plus, and yeah, thank you so much for your continued support.
Once again, thank you all for joining with us this evening. I have a great respect for everyone here that's running for public office. I'm running again because what I've done over the last 3.5 years of promising to be hardworking, accessible, and responsive, I've done that for everyone that's reached out to me in a timely manner. You know, I'm always an ear, you know, I'm a great listener, and I listen to your ideas. I'm here to serve the people that elected me. I'm here to serve everyone in the city. Whether we agree or we disagree, I'm always going to work hard, and I'm going to vote with my heart. There's nothing more humbling to hear that when people reach out and they say, you were my first call. I think that says a lot, and I respectfully ask for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd.
I believe I should get one of your 4 votes November 2nd because I'm hardworking. I have an actual plan to involve each and every single resident in Lynn. I can communicate in 4 languages, and I haven't given up. A lot of the issues that we're talking about now were issues that our campaign and my people, the people that we've been working with, brought up. So we haven't switched up. We've been fighting hard for you all, and we are prioritizing you, the people. So please give me one of your 4 votes November 2nd. Thank you.
I am humbly asking for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd because I bring a different perspective to our local government. As I said in the beginning, I am a woman, I am a veteran, I am an entrepreneur. I have already been doing the work in this city. I've helped with bringing the body cameras to our police department. I'm currently helping with the unarmed crisis response team, and I want to continue doing that work. So please, give me one of your votes November 2nd, Nicole Mclean. Thank you.
I don't think I've ever done anything in 30 seconds, but here we go. Brian Lapierre, Councilor at Large, please consider me for one of your 4 votes on November 2nd. I'm a hard worker, I'm honest, I'm just like you. I respond to constituent concerns, I work well with my colleagues, I listen, I learn, I lead. I love this city, I'm born and raised here. I have 2 kids in the public schools. My wife's a teacher. I believe in your values. I believe in everything that you have done and that was displayed here tonight, the New Lynn Coalition and all of your partners. Thank you so much.
A big hand, please.
Gracias a todos ustedes por su asistencia, especialmente gracias a Darren Seaver y Jared Nicholson por estar aquí. Este evento, como dijimos, este foro es como siempre. Vamos a darle la oportunidad a ellos. Tenemos 3 preguntas. Le vamos a dar la oportunidad, 4 preguntas. Le vamos a dar la oportunidad de que ellos contesten. Y si contestan de una forma que a nosotros no nos gusta, por favor, respetamos que no todos tenemos que estar de acuerdo, mantener el silencio y seguir, porque muchos hacen los candidatos con estar aquí, con la disponibilidad que han hecho de estar con nosotros. Como siempre, también le pedimos que las preguntas las vamos a hacer en inglés y español. Tenemos una traductora que está aquí, que va a traducir la respuesta de los candidatos. Entonces, vamos a empezar, y las preguntas, tenemos también que ustedes tienen 3 minutos para contestar. Se me olvidó decir eso, que es muy importante. No se pasen de esos 3 minutos, que tenemos una persona aquí que está tomando su tiempo. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you to everybody who's hanging in here for the second half of the debates. Thank you, both candidates, for being here. And please, we're just going to emphasize, please keep a respectful tone towards both candidates. We have a chance, I'm sure you were both here for the earlier part, so you've heard many of the questions. You're going to get 1 minute longer than the City Council member, Scott, so each of you will get 3 minutes to answer the question. Please stick closely to the time. Elizabeth is here right in the middle with the time cards, and if it goes too far, the alarm will go off. Also at the end, you'll have a chance to ask each other a question if everything goes well with time. Everybody ready? All right.
Vamos a hacer la primera pregunta en español. El plan de vivienda de Lynn causó una gran controversia. Darren, usted estaba en el comité directivo que elaboró el plan. Darren, usted se opuso en la votación del ayuntamiento. Ahora que se aprobó el plan, ¿qué partes deberían de avanzar hacia la implementación? ¿Qué parte del plan no debería avanzar para implementarse?
So the Lynn Housing Plan caused considerable controversy. Jared, you were on the steering committee that produced the plan. Darren, you opposed it in the City Council vote. Now that it is passed, what parts of it should move forward to implementation? What parts of the plan should we not implement? Darren?
So I think we should go back to the drawing board, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think we should implement any part of it. The real issue in America is that there's a housing crisis everywhere. There's not enough federal programs, there aren't enough state programs. One of the biggest issues and one of the reasons why there's a need for affordable housing is because surrounding communities don't have enough affordable housing. We should be talking to those communities as well and try to implement it there in communities like Swampscott, Marblehead, and Linfield. In Lynn, a lot of people wind up coming here because they can't afford to live in Boston or East Boston or Chelsea or Everett because of all the development that's taken place. I do believe that there is absolutely a need, and I do support affordable housing in Lynn. But I would put together a plan and a program so that people can afford houses, and I would do that with through new development. I've already begun working with and talking to many developers that are looking to come into Lynn. I would do it through linkage. I would set up a program using a percentage of the cost of the development, and I'll use this as an example. If you have a $100 million development, 1% of that would go into the program, up to a certain number of units. Anything above that, you would go 0.25 more of a percentage. So you could help people that are making, because the average income of the city of Lynn for residents is less than $50,000 a year. Most people wouldn't qualify for a loan simply because they haven't established credit yet, or because they haven't saved enough money to put down for a down payment. We are obligated as a community, as a city, to help single-parent households or two-parent households that are working 2 jobs. I've always had to work 2 jobs. My parents have always had to work 2 jobs. My parents had to struggle. I've had to struggle at times. I understand what it's like to need for the need to pay your bills and to have a job that can help you afford to live and obtain the American dream. $15 is not enough money. We have to do better in our education system, because I really truly believe that the only way we're going to break the cycle of poverty is through education and higher paying jobs. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to the New Lynn Coalition for hosting this debate, and to all of you for being here, and those of you who are watching. So on the housing plan, that's correct that I served on the steering committee of the housing plan. We just heard tonight from the city councilors, and I've heard it all over the city, about the importance of the problem we have in the city of Lynn with the cost of housing. Housing costs are eating up too much of our residents' income. They're out of control. It's a genuine problem with the city of Lynn, and we need to do something about it. That was the goal of the Housing Lynn Plan, starting about 2 years ago, the mayor, working with the Lynn Housing Authority, decided to try to make an effort to do something about this. And so after 2 years, half a dozen community forums seeking input from a wide range of stakeholders, from developers and landlords to tenants and housing advocates, including city councilors who you heard from this evening mentioning that they participated. This plan was put together and it was overwhelmingly adopted by the council, 8-2, and unanimously adopted by the planning board, 5-0. And this is where the city should be going to start to address this issue. Now, it's just a plan. And by adopting and starting with a plan, we tee up our conversation starting in January about which of those recommendations that we should be implementing. And for each of the recommendations, we will have a full comprehensive analysis and evaluation about what will work in Lynn and how best it will work to address this issue. One of the headline recommendations from the Housing Lynn Plan that I think is a great place to start is inclusionary zoning. This would say that for new development of sometimes depending of where it is and of a certain size, whatever the parameters are, a percentage of units are set aside to be affordable for Lynn people. And the whole goal of that is to say, that's great that we have this private development. Let's think through how we can make it a win for the developer, because the developer needs to make money in order for the project to happen, a win for the city in terms of the tax revenue that we'll be bringing in, and a win for the community. It's possible to have all three. We know that other cities in the region around the country are able to have all three. And it's not just the bigger cities with lots of development, our peer cities as well. And that was readily apparent in the analysis that was done as part of the Housing Lynn Plan and the work that went into its approval. Each of the recommendations in the plan have an analysis of the cost and the impact, and that's a great place to start in terms of prioritization. And one of the things that we're really excited about right now in this campaign is building a really broad coalition to start to work on this issue. Thank you.
La siguiente pregunta es, las escuelas de Lynn son viejas y están superpobladas. A nuestros maestros se les paga menos que los maestros de comunidades circundantes. Estamos comprometidos a educar a todos nuestros estudiantes, incluidos los recién llegados que pueden venir con diferentes antecedentes lingüísticos. Aparte de construir una escuela, que todos estamos de acuerdo, todo el mundo está a favor de eso. ¿Cuáles son una o dos cosas clave que hará usted que suceda para apoyar a nuestros estudiantes, a sus familias y a nuestros educadores para mejorar nuestro sistema escolar?
Lynn schools are old and overcrowded. Our teachers are paid less than those in surrounding communities. We are committed to educate all of our students, including new arrivals who may come with different language backgrounds. Aside from building new schools, because I assume both of you are for that, what are one or two key things that you will make happen to support our students and their families and our educators to improve our schools? And we can just alternate, so Jared this week.
Thank you so much, and I absolutely agree with the premise of the question there, that we definitely need new schools, and that's going to be a top priority for our education planning. But for another issue to talk about that I think is really important is a priority of mine that I've had on the school committee. I've served for 3 terms on the school committee, have deep experience in education, and I think that's really important that we have a mayor with that level of experience. The mayor is the chair of the school committee. The schools are half the city's budget, almost half the city's budget. And it's going to be a huge part of our future to be able to make sure that every student gets a high-quality education. So one of the priorities I've had in my work on the school committee is building more pathways for students to college and jobs. And a great place to start there is the jewel that we have at Lynn Tech, and supporting tech and increasing the programming offerings that they have in opening up the tech to adults in the evenings, students from around the district after school, to be creating other opportunities for students to find opportunities to learn job skills that are going to get them into high-paying jobs. And we can continue to build on that momentum. Connected to that is the work that has happening in Lynn Public Schools that we need to grow and develop in our partnerships with other institutions of learning. That's early college. Early college is a tremendous opportunity for students while they are enrolled in the K through 12 Lynn Public School system to earn college credit at no cost to the student. So they're graduating Lynn Public Schools with college credit without debt and with a sense of how higher education works, because they've been supported in earning those credits by the program in collaboration with our partners. So that's Salem State University and North Shore Community College. And I think what's really important about making this partnership work is not only giving opportunities for students to earn college credit, but giving them guidance about where those credits will lead them. And thinking critically about how to develop course offerings that are going to lead students to the degrees they want and ultimately to the jobs they want, high-paying jobs. And so that's building pathways in the area of healthcare, because we know healthcare is an industry that's hiring at different skill levels. It's building pathways in the area of information technology, another industry that we know is hiring in the region. And it's building pathways in education as a vocation, so that we can address another issue that we have in the Lynn Public Schools, working to have a more diverse workforce, more diverse educators. So if we're preparing our students to go to Salem State, become teachers, and come back to Lynn, that is bringing the diversity that we're hoping for in the Lynn Public Schools, as well as bringing high-quality jobs to our community. So that's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. So Lynn has the highest population of students of anywhere in Massachusetts. 17% of our population in Lynn go to school. The average in any other community is 11%. It's unacceptable. We have 28 schools in our city. 14 of them are over 100 years old. The grammar school that I went to and my sons went to, so did my great-grandmother and my grandmother, as well as my mother. It sounds kind of cool, but the problem is when you walk into that school, the ceiling is falling down. The wall is coming away from the outside of the building. It's an old school. That's unacceptable. We have students at English High School that are being taught in trailers. Same thing at Ingalls. When I became counselor, one of the first things that I worked on was getting Marshall Middle School built. It's a $100 million school. I went to Easton Junior High when I was going through middle school, and it became Marshall. And it was ranked the worst school in Massachusetts. That was unacceptable when I became a counselor. So I worked with Councilor Barton, and we got the neighborhood and we got the community involved in building a new school. It's a state-of-the-art school. It has science labs. It has home ec. It has 3 different kind of art rooms, 3 different kind of music rooms. It has wood shop. It has everything that every student would want in a middle school or would need. We have to do a better job preparing our students from an earlier age to prepare them for life. Not all students are going to go to college. Lynn Tech is the greatest school in the city. How do I know that? Because I went there. I graduated from there. It gave me opportunities that I would never have had. It brought something out of me, a talent that I didn't even realize I had. It has unbelievable teachers. It would be easier for us to train students that aren't going to college to get them into a trade school. There's a waiting list to get in there. And the reason I say that is because you can go to college and spend 4 years there and spend all kinds of money. Most people that live in Lynn won't be able to afford to go to college. So we have to prepare them for the future of their lives. And we can give them an opportunity by sending them to Lynn Tech to teach them a trade. Our future industry in the city of Lynn, the way I see it, is going to be through development. We have 40 or 50 years of development that we can have started in Lynn that's going to help people. I've always said the only way to break the cycle of poverty is through education and higher paying jobs. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars worth of development. Thank you.
Thank you.
La tercera pregunta es acerca, y quizá ustedes lo escucharon antes, el Consejo Municipal aprobó $500,000 para un equipo de respuesta a crisis sin usar armas de fuego para relevar a la policía de tareas que no requieren la respuesta de un oficial armado. Esto proporcionaría una alternativa a las llamadas no violentas, brindaría servicios a las personas que padecen enfermedades mentales, adicciones, inseguridad en la vivienda y a quienes necesitan ayuda pero tienen demasiado miedo de tener un conflicto con la policía para pedir ayuda. La coalición de Lynn Racial Justice apoya el modelo utilizado en Eugene, Oregón, donde este tipo de llamadas son respondidas por profesionales de la salud y la policía es llamada solo como un respaldo. En Oregón, en 31 años de operación y 0 lecciones experimentadas por los miembros del equipo, solo en el 1% de los casos ha habido necesidad de llamar a la policía. ¿Apoya usted el modelo de Oregón como un equipo independiente y desarmado? Gracias.
The City Council approved $500,000 for an unarmed crisis response team to relieve the police of tasks that do not require an armed officer's response. This will provide an alternative to nonviolent calls and provide services for people suffering from mental illness, addiction, housing insecurity, and those who need help but are too afraid of conflict with the police to call them. The Lynn Racial Justice Coalition supports the model used in Eugene, Oregon, where these types of calls are answered by healthcare professionals and police are called only as backups, which in Oregon only happen 1% of the time. In 31 years of operation, there have been 0 injuries by team members. Do you support the Oregon model of a truly independent UCRT? And if you were here last time, I guess if you could start with a yes or a no. Do you support UCRT independent from the police force and then expand from there? Darren, yeah, we'll just go back.
So I can't answer that with a yes or no. And the reason being is that I don't have enough information on what's going on the other side of America. I don't know if you want Jared to answer or should I continue?
No, you should answer, but I guess you don't have to think of Eugene, but just think if you're willing to support an unarmed crisis response team that is independent from the police force. So it's not part of the police force, but it's its own independent agency.
So at this point, no.
And then if you'd like to expand on that, you have two
Thank you.
minutes. Yeah.
So the reason I said no is because I do believe in providing the police with more advanced training. I don't believe in sending an unarmed person to a situation, especially when it's a 911 call that comes in. We have enough advocacy groups and people that are working on the streets. We have a lot of health agencies that are working with a lot of these people that have mental health issues or have drug addiction issues, whether it be with alcohol or drugs. So when a 911 call comes in, speaking with the dispatchers, because I have spoke with them, they don't feel confident enough to be able to make that decision whether or not to send an unarmed response team out when a call comes in. The police do have resources when they get there, and if they need a person to come because it is a mental health issue, same thing with the fire department when they arrive. That's the reason why both emergency teams arrive at the same time and why they're required to arrive. But there's a lot of times in the city where you might have an issue that arises where it may be a family member that's out of control and you feel as though that someone can come in there and talk to them, and then it escalates to a point where that unarmed response team person may not have enough time to be able to reach out and get a police officer to come there. Now we're putting someone's life in harm's way. So I really don't know enough about it, and from talking with police officers, talking with firefighters and 911 dispatchers, they don't feel comfortable with an unarmed response team yet. Not saying that it can't happen, but what I'm saying is right now, I do not support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I do support the unarmed crisis response team, and I do support its independence. I think that we're at the pilot stages, so this is the early stages of this new program, and so there will be a lot of questions that we need to work through together about how this gets set up for success. But I truly believe that it has a lot of potential for success. We have great precedent for a program like this. Eugene, Oregon is one. There are other examples. The City of Lynn itself, in the behavioral health unit in the Lynn Police Department, has precedent for trying to put resources directly towards addressing mental health needs in the community. And while that work has been very positive and I support it fully, we clearly need to be doing more to address mental health needs in our community. And I think an unarmed crisis response team will absolutely add to the team that we have working on these issues. Independent doesn't mean that we're not going to be collaborating. I think even when the percentage is minuscule, I think the example from Eugene, Oregon was in a year that they did 24,000 calls, their equivalent of the unarmed crisis response team, only 150 required police backup. That's less than 1%. And even in those, it wasn't because there was a violent situation, because there hasn't been a record of violence with those workers. But there are unanswered questions that we all have to work through together, because this is a difficult issue, requires creative ideas and creative thinking. And in order to try something new, you have to answer questions that come up for the first time. And the Lynn Police will be absolutely at the table helping us think through those questions, as will the Lynn Racial Justice Coalition, who have put this suggestion forward based on really thoughtful community feedback about people's interactions with the police department. I think of it as an opportunity for us to grow the team that are working on these issues, because we all ultimately have the same goal. We want there to be more peace in our community. That's what everybody wants. The police, the community organizations that are working on this, and that's what this proposal is setting us up to try to pursue. It's not the only thing we're doing on public safety. We're going to continue to collaborate, to target really criminal behavior, to try to work towards taking unlawful guns off the street as a source of violence, to providing really strong alternatives for youth who are at risk of getting involved in negative activity, so that there's a place for them to go. That's work that's happening, that's positive, that we should continue and build on. And the Unarmed Crisis Response Team is going to allow us to add to those efforts. Speaking with police officers, the need for coordination and services on mental health is a top priority in the city. Thank you.
Esta pregunta que vamos a hacer va a ser individual para cada candidato y va a afectarlo a ellos directamente. Entonces, yo voy a hacer la pregunta en español para el concejal presidente de los concejales, Darren Searle, y después vamos a hacer la pregunta para el candidato Jared Nicholson. La primera pregunta para el concejal presidente Darren Searle es, usted ha dicho que los desarrolladores o los inversionistas no vendrán a Lynn si se requiere que incluyan en los proyectos el 5% de viviendas asequibles. Sin embargo, los volantes de su campaña reclaman crédito por su voto para aprobar el proyecto Getaway, donde 63 de las 71 unidades están subsidiadas para ser asequibles en algún nivel. Que parece que, por un lado, usted se está atribuyendo el mérito de un proyecto que, por otro lado, dice que nunca sucederá. ¿Cómo explica esto y cuál es su plan para abordar la crisis de vivienda en Lynn?
So these are both individual questions addressed to the candidates, and they're difficult questions, but we offer them with respect for you guys. And you get 3 minutes for each of them. So the first one is for Councilor Sear. You have stated that developers will not come to Lynn if even a 5% of a housing project are required to be affordable, yet your campaign flyers claim credit for your vote to approve the Gateway project. where 63 of 71 units are subsidized to be affordable at some level. It seems like a contradiction that you are taking credit on one hand for the project and on the other hand saying projects like those can't happen. How do you explain this, and what is your plan to address the housing crisis in Lynn?
So I'm not saying projects like that can happen. Perfect example is it took 7 years to get the funding for Washington Street. The project almost collapsed 2 different times. Private developers, it's a completely different thing. That was done with federal money, it was done with union money, it was also done with tax incentives. So you're talking about 2 completely different issues. When you're talking about a private developer coming into the city, and we just had one that was coming here, they wanted to build a $130 million building. And they were looking for a 15-year tax incentive. So we asked them if they would give us 10% affordable housing in that development. They went to the drawing table and they came back and said, no, the figures didn't work. So we asked them if they could give us 5 years, 5%, I'm sorry. And they came back and they said, no, the figures didn't work. And as I talked to other developers, the reason why they say it wouldn't work for them in a private development is because 10% of their development is where their profit comes in. And when in the housing production plan, when it says that Lynn residents would get first dibs on the development, well, in order to do that by law, you have to give them a tax incentive. And what they're looking for is a 30-year deed restriction on the development. And what they're also asking to do is, because there is a formula as to how you can become eligible for affordable housing. And it's 80% of your income, and they're asking to bring it down to 50 to 60% of your income. And I'll use this as a perfect example. If you have a building where you have 100 units in it, and 10% of them are going to be affordable, and at 50%, when you're getting, say, $2,000 per apartment, you're looking at $1,000 to $800 or $800 to $1,000 a month loss on each apartment. Multiply that times 10, times 12, times 30. No developer is going to come into the city because it doesn't support the development. And the taxpayers can't afford to pay the tax incentive to make up that difference. You're talking millions of dollars of loss for a development with only 100 units. And that's why I say that we have to come up with a better program than the housing production plan. We have to come up with a plan that benefits all people, from the taxpayers to the people in need. The housing production plan only gives false hope to the people that need it. It doesn't help anybody.
Thank you.
Las preguntas que tenemos para el candidato Jared Nicholson es la siguiente. Usted tiene en su plataforma política que se está postulando por un crecimiento para todos, pero algunos críticos dicen que realmente no se puede conocer la ciudad y sus desafíos en tan poco tiempo de vivir en la misma. También dice que usted está aquí tratando de hacer una carrera política a partir de su trabajo en Lynn. ¿Cómo responde a estas críticas?
School Committeeman Nicholson, you're running on a platform of growth for all of us, but some critics say you can't really know the city and its challenges after living here for a short period of time, or they claim that you are here trying to launch a political career off your work in Lynn. How do you respond to these criticisms?
Thank you for the question. I wasn't born here. I chose to make Lynn my home. My son Henry was born here, and we've made the decision to raise Henry in the city of Lynn because we love this community. We love being a part of this community. And a big reason why I'm running is to help make Lynn a place that prepares my son Henry to go anywhere in the world and inspires him to love it here. I've made a real effort in my work to be open to people with a wide range of perspectives, and will continue that effort in office. Because I think it's very important to be able to listen to all corners of the city to get that feedback. And so if there are perspectives that I'm missing, I will make every effort to hear those voices, to bring those voices to the table. Now, as far as a future political career, the mayor of Lynn is the mayor of a city of over 100,000 people. I don't see how anybody could consider that a stepping stone to anything. It's a very important job, and one that I will take incredibly seriously every day that I do that work. It will truly be an honor to serve in that capacity, and I'm really excited that we've been able to build a really broad coalition that shares that agenda for inclusive growth. Because we really do have a tremendous opportunity right now in the city of Lynn. We see that the infrastructure funds that are starting to become available, we see the private development that's starting to take root. And without leadership that prioritizes that kind of inclusive growth, then we're going to miss that opportunity for that growth to benefit the city, to include all of us. And I think one of the reasons that we've been able to build a successful and broad coalition is because a lot of folks have that priority as well. A lot of folks believe in the city and its potential, and that now is the time, and that I'm able to bring the skills and experience to help us make the most of that potential in this time. The experience that I have in education, the experience that I have on city issues like housing and economic development, the record I've built as someone who is open and accessible and inclusive. And that includes working with constituents whose first language is Spanish, of whom we have a large number in the city of Lynn, which has been directly helpful as part of my work on the schools committee. So I do appreciate the question and the opportunity to share the reasons why we are able to build this coalition, and the opportunity we have to make the most of this opportunity for inclusive growth and the value that I would bring as mayor. Thank you.
Gracias. La última pregunta es, estamos a 13 días para la conclusión de una larga campaña y queremos saber cuál es el único mensaje que le gustaría dejar a los votantes para que voten por usted. Y vamos a empezar por Jared, pero vamos a esperar que nos diga, que usted haga la traducción.
Yeah. So it's near the end of a long campaign. In 2 weeks, we will have elected a new mayor. What is the one message you would like to leave the voters with at the end of this campaign as they make their final decision? And for this one, Elizabeth, 1 minute, please. Yeah. Hold on to that one. hold on to that one, please. Each of you gets a chance to ask the other one a question. If you could try to keep the question, short, and then you'll get 3 minutes to answer it. Sorry. Yeah, so if one of you would like to go first and ask the other one a question.
Cada candidato va a preguntar, va a hacer una pregunta al oponente y va a tener momento para contestar. Y tienes 3 minutos.
So at the last debate, I asked the question first, and I'll let Jared ask the question first this time.
Thank you, Councilor Sear. We were talking earlier about affordable housing. I think we both named that as a priority, an issue the city needs to work on. I know that you have mentioned several times over the course of the campaign one of the strategies that you're focused on in the form of generational mortgages, 40, 50, 60-year mortgages. Can you explain why you see that as the right strategy for the city to tackle what we both consider to be an issue with affordable housing, and what you see the city's role in providing 60-year mortgages?
Great. 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. So as I said, housing is every American's dream, to own their own home. And there are so many people that live in our community that can't afford to do that because they're making way less the money that you need. $60,000 a year per household of a family of 4 is what they say is that you need in order to own a home and to live somewhat of the American dream. I think it's higher than that. But the reason why I use the term generational mortgages is because they're doing it in Canada, they're doing it in Japan, they even have some programs out in California, and it's working. What generational means is that instead of your average 30-year mortgage, that you can get a 40 or a 50-year mortgage, and that at some point during the course of that mortgage, you could turn it over to one of your sons or one of your daughters. That would help them feel like they are more invested in the city, that they're working towards something. And what you also do is, you don't have to go through all the rigmarole of having to create a new mortgage and extending it longer. So when you first take out the mortgage, and it would be done through a program that would be financed through the development that we're talking about coming into the city. I've already spoke with developers, and they would rather put money into something like that than to put money into affordable units in their building. Because as they said, nobody will benefit from that, except for the person that's moving in there. And that would only be for a short time, because in the communities where it's already been established in Boston, or Somerville, or Quincy, the rents there are 10 times higher than they are in Lynn. Because somebody has to pay for that affordable housing. It's pushing more and more people into Lynn. There are rents as high as over $5,000 a month in Quincy and in Boston. Also, subsidized housing is causing the rents to rise in Lynn, because people with housing vouchers from Boston, which get more money than vouchers from Lynn, are getting the apartments in the city of Lynn, and they're pushing Lynn residents out of apartments. And you can speak to any landlord that accepts a voucher, and they will tell you that if they're trying to get as close to market rate as they can, they're having to take vouchers from outside of the city because those vouchers are worth more. And what it's also doing is sending bigger, larger families from those other communities into Lynn and into our school system. Thank you for the question, Jared. So, as you did the last time, I'm going to ask you, how would you support affordable housing by making a developer have to provide a percentage of their development? Where would the money come from for the loss of the developer?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think it's really important for us to understand how inclusionary zoning works. What we're saying is that we need to get into the weeds of the financial models for these developments. This is how other cities have been able to develop ordinances that have successfully created affordable units using inclusionary zoning. So that means we're not coming in with the predetermined percentage before doing the market analysis of what the right percentage is for an inclusionary zoning ordinance, but we're doing a real market analysis for what is going to allow for the creation of units. Because remember, if we're talking about inclusionary zoning, we're saying we're taking a percentage of private development. And so if the ordinance is set up in a way that makes it uneconomical to do any development, then you end up not creating any affordable units. If you tried to say that 40% of units are going to be affordable and no new units were built, 40% of zero is zero. And so this analysis is really important, and is going to be the foundation for being able to draft an ordinance like this. Now, what's important is that we have developers at the table, but we're also able to talk to independent experts who have the access to this kind of market data. Now, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council is one of those groups that has the capability to do that kind of analysis. That's the group that helped us write the Housing Lynn Plan. They've been involved in the drafting of other successful inclusionary zoning ordinances. And so we're able to get the feedback from developers and bring them to the table, but not rely entirely on the numbers that they're giving us. The role of government is to be there at the table on behalf of the people. so that we have an opportunity to really pressure test these numbers about saying what can make money and what can't. Because of course there is a line. No one's saying that there's not a point at which you're going to threaten the viability of development by asking too much. What we're saying is that Lynn is at a point where we need to be having that conversation to make that ask and find where the line is. Because the city is changing. Rents are skyrocketing, and that is making development more economical. That's why you're starting to see these projects go. And we need to have the confidence to change with it. And that's the foundation of the inclusionary zoning ordinance. We're gonna take a data-driven approach to finding the right threshold in order to make this work for everybody. And I'm excited to hopefully have the opportunity to lead that effort as mayor next year. Thank you.
So now you get a chance to tell us why, after everything, they should consider you in their final decision on Election Day. And please, after these, if everyone could stay in their seats, we're going to have some closing remarks from Tish.
Ahora sí es el momento para que los dos candidatos puedan decir por qué podemos votar por ellos. Es una remarca que van a decir para despedirse. Después pueden permanecer aquí porque tenemos a la presidenta de New Lynn Coalition que va a hablarnos, a despedirnos a nosotros, darnos las gracias. Es bueno que veamos que sí estamos agradecidos de su asistencia y la asistencia de los candidatos.
And I'm sorry, 1 minute for the closing statement, please.
You want to start it with? Better?
So I just want to understand, is this a closing statement?
Statement. Yeah,
Okay.
1 minute, please.
Why they should vote for us?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. So I've learned the Lynn life experience, having to always work 2 jobs, growing up here in the most diverse city in the whole wide world. I've lived here for 62 years, went through Lynn Public Schools, been involved in Little League, playing or being a coach, working in my church, football, basketball, hockey, being a soccer coach, being involved in the PTA, being on the city council for 16 years, experiencing every kind of disaster you can imagine, from a pandemic, having to feed thousands of people every single day, facing a deficit where we're $11 million in the hole when I first became council president, working every single day with the mayor to find the funds, dealing with hurricanes, snowstorms, plowing out streets, pumping out people's cellars. I have lived the same experiences that 99% of you in this room have experienced. I'm asking you to vote for me on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you again to the New Lynn Coalition for this opportunity, and to all of you for being here. I am asking for your vote, respectfully, on November 2nd, to provide the forward-thinking leadership that we need in this moment to recover and grow together. I believe that I have the skills and experience to provide leadership for inclusive growth, to both create opportunities for growth and to make those opportunities inclusive. I bring deep experience on education issues from my work on the school committee, and deep experience on city issues like housing and economic development from my work as a lawyer and a law professor. And above all, I'm a father to my son who turned 2 today. Today was his birthday. And I can't wait to share all the city has to offer with him. Thank you so much.
A big hand for both candidates.